The gun clicks empty, but he keeps pulling the trigger anyway. Click, click, click. The sound echoes across Lake Berryessa on a warm September afternoon in 1969, mixing with the distant laughter of families having picnics. Bryan Hartnell lies face down on a beach towel, 22 stab wounds in his back, listening to footsteps walk away through the dry grass. His girlfriend Cecilia Shepard is dying beside him, but she's still breathing, still fighting. And written on Bryan's car door in black marker, Vallejo 12-20-68, 7-4-69, Sept 27th, 69, 6:30 by knife. Below that, a symbol, a circle with a cross through it. The man who did this wants credit for his work. But let's back up, because this story doesn't start at Lake Berryessa. It starts 2 months earlier, on a quiet road in Vallejo, California, where two teenagers were learning that some Saturday nights end differently than you expect. Darlene Ferrin was 22, a mother of one with dark hair and an easy laugh. She worked at Terry's restaurant, where the coffee was strong and the tips were decent if you knew how to charm the late-night crowd. Michael Mageau was 19, brown-eyed and shy, the kind of boy who still felt lucky when a girl like Darlene asked him to go for a drive. July 4th, 1969, Independence Day. They're parked at Blue Rock Springs Park just after midnight, talking in that soft way people do when the rest of the world is asleep. The radio is playing low. Darlene's laughing at something Michael said when headlights appear in the rearview mirror. A car parks about 10 feet behind them, sits there, engine running. Michael turns to look, but the headlights are too bright. After a few minutes, the car drives away. They both exhale. Probably just someone looking for privacy, same as them. But 10 minutes later, the car comes back. This time, the driver gets out. Michael can see his silhouette approaching, broad-shouldered, calm, methodical. The man walks up to Darlene's side of the car and, without saying a word, starts shooting. 5 shots from a 9mm pistol. Darlene takes 2 bullets and slumps over the steering wheel. Michael catches one in the face, one in the knee. The gunman walks around to Michael's side and fires once more, point blank. Then he leaves, just like that. No robbery, no sexual assault, no apparent motive beyond the act itself. Michael survives, but barely. He'll spend the rest of his life with limited vision and nerve damage, trying to make sense of those 30 seconds that changed everything. Darlene dies at the hospital 4 hours later, never regaining consciousness. The story might have ended there. Another senseless shooting, another unsolved case gathering dust in some detective's filing cabinet. But 3 days later, the Vallejo Times-Herald receives a phone call. A man's voice, calm and measured. "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder." They are 2 miles north of park headquarters. They were in a brown car. The boy is still alive. Then he gives details only the killer would know, details the police haven't released. And before hanging up, he says, "I also killed those kids last year." Last year. December 20th, 1968, Lake Herman Road just outside Vallejo. David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. First date. They'd driven out to a quiet spot to talk, to kiss maybe, to feel like adults for a few hours. Someone walked up to their car around 11 p.m. and ordered them out at gunpoint. David was shot in the head at point-blank range. Betty Lou tried to run, made it about 30 feet before the gunman shot her 5 times in the back with a .22 caliber pistol. The killer had waited 10 months to claim credit. And here's the thing, he was just getting started. 3 weeks after the phone call, 3 letters arrived simultaneously at 3 Bay Area newspapers: the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. Each letter contains details about the crimes that only the killer would know. Each is signed with the same symbol, a circle bisected by a cross, and each contains 1/3 of a cryptogram, 408 symbols that the writer claims will reveal his identity. The letters begin, "Dear Editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman, plus the girl on the 4th of July. He wants the ciphers published on each paper's front page, or he'll kill again. He signs off, I will cruise around all weekend, killing lone people in the night, then move on to kill again, until I end up with a dozen people over the weekend." The newspapers publish. Amateur cryptographers go to work, and on August 8th, a Salinas schoolteacher named Donald Harden cracks the code. It reads, "I like killing people because it is so much fun, it is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous. An animal of all to kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is when I die I will be reborn in paradise, and all the they I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or atop my collection of slaves for my afterlife. EBR Timothy Pity." The last 18 symbols remain unsolved to this day, but the message is clear enough. This isn't about money or passion or revenge. This is about power, control, the intoxicating rush of holding life and death in your hands. And he's not finished. September 27th, 1969. Lake Berryessa. Bryan Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard are college students, 20 and 22, spreading a blanket on a small peninsula for an afternoon picnic. The lake is beautiful in September, still warm enough for swimming, quiet enough for conversation. Around 4:30 p.m., they notice a man approaching across the open field. Tall, heavy-set, wearing a dark windbreaker and a square black hood with slits cut out for his eyes. The hood bears a white circle with a cross through it. He's carrying a gun, but his voice is conversational, almost polite. He tells them he's an escaped convict, that he needs their car and money to get to Mexico. He produces pre-cut lengths of clothesline and instructs Cecilia to tie up Bryan. They comply, probably thinking this is just a robbery, that if they cooperate, they'll have a story to tell later. But after Bryan is tied, the man draws a knife, long, double-edged, with a wooden handle. What happens next takes less than 3 minutes, but those 3 minutes stretch into eternity. He stabs Cecilia 10 times in the back. Bryan, trying to shield her with his own body, takes 22 wounds. The man is methodical, almost surgical in his precision. When he's finished, he walks calmly to their car and writes his message on the door. Then he calls the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone to report the crime. His voice is the same as the Vallejo caller, calm, measured, matter of fact. "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder." But it's not a double murder. Not yet. Bryan survives, though he'll never fully recover. Cecilia dies 2 days later at Queen of the Valley Hospital, but not before providing a detailed description of their attacker. The investigation consumes hundreds of man-hours. Detectives chase leads across 3 counties, interview dozens of suspects, analyze handwriting samples and fingerprints. They have descriptions, they have physical evidence, they have a voice recording, but they don't have a name. October 11th, 1969. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, picks up a fare in downtown San Francisco. His passenger wants to go to Washington and Maple in Presidio Heights, a quiet residential neighborhood where old money lives behind well-maintained facades. Paul is working toward a PhD in English literature, driving cab to pay the bills. He's getting married soon to a woman who loves his gentle nature and quick wit. He has no way of knowing that his passenger has been watching cab drivers for weeks, learning their routines, waiting for the right moment. At Washington and Maple, instead of paying the fare, the passenger shoots Paul once in the head with a 9mm pistol. Then he tears off a piece of Paul's shirt, wipes down the cab to remove fingerprints, and walks away into the fog. 3 teenagers witness the shooting from a nearby window and call police. They describe seeing a white male, approximately 5'8", heavy build, walking north on Cherry Street with a piece of fabric in his hands. Police dispatch, however, broadcasts the description as a black male suspect. When officers Donald Fook and Eric Zelms spot a white man walking calmly down the street 3 blocks away, they drive past without stopping. Fook will later realize he probably saw the Zodiac Killer face to face and let him walk away. 2 days later, another letter arrives at the San Francisco Chronicle. Along with it, a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt. "I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Street plus Maple Street last night. To prove this here is a blood-stained piece of his shirt. I am the same man who did in the people in the North Bay area." The letter goes on to mock the police. "The SF police could have caught me last night if they had searched the park properly, instead of holding road races with their motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise." He knows about the botched radio description. He watched the whole thing unfold. But this letter is different from the others. More personal, more taunting, and it introduces a name, P.S. I shall not tell you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife. By the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have me. Zodiac. The Zodiac. He's given himself a name now, complete with a theatrical flourish on the final C, and he's just getting started with the mind games. Over the following months, the letters pour in, sometimes to newspapers, sometimes to prominent lawyers, occasionally to television shows. Each one contains threats, boasts, and bizarre requests. He wants the public to wear Zodiac pins. He threatens to blow up school buses. He claims to have killed dozens of people across California. Most disturbingly, he seems to know details about the investigation that haven't been released to the public. He references specific detectives by name, mentions evidence that should be confidential, and demonstrates an intimate knowledge of police procedures. The letters become increasingly erratic and rambling. Some contain more ciphers, a 340-character cryptogram that won't be solved for 51 years, a 13-character message, a 32-character puzzle. Others include diagrams for bombs, astrological charts, and references to obscure operas and movies. The handwriting is analyzed by experts. The fingerprints on the letters are processed and compared to millions of records. Police sketch artists work with survivors to create composite drawings. The investigation expands to include multiple jurisdictions, the FBI, and eventually reaches into every corner of Northern California. Suspects emerge and fade away like morning fog. Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who owned a Zodiac watch and lived in Vallejo. Lawrence Kane, a brain-damaged former sailor with a violent history. Rick Marshall, a projectionist with connections to several of the crime scenes. Each seems promising at first. Each ultimately fails to match the evidence. The last confirmed Zodiac letter arrives in January 1974. It's rambling and incoherent, filled with references to The Exorcist and threats against comedian Mel Brooks. After that, silence. No more letters, no more phone calls, no more confirmed murders. He simply vanishes, like he was never there at all. But the investigation never really stops. Advances in DNA technology breathe new life into old evidence. Amateur sleuths dissect every letter, every cipher, every witness statement. Television documentaries re-examine the case from every conceivable angle. In 2020, 51 years after it was sent, professional codebreaker David Oranchak finally solves the 340-character cipher. It reads, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me." The same grandiose fantasy, the same cold calculation, but no new clues to his identity. Today, the Zodiac files fill multiple rooms at various police departments. 5 confirmed victims, though he claimed 37. Hundreds of suspects investigated and cleared, thousands of tips called in over 5 decades. And somewhere, maybe, an old man looks back on those months in 1968 and 1969 when he held an entire region hostage with fear. When he proved that anyone could disappear on any night, that safety was just an illusion, that evil could walk among us wearing the mask of normalcy. Or maybe he's dead, taking his secrets with him, leaving only questions and the hollow echo of footsteps walking away through dry grass on a September afternoon. The gun clicks empty, but the mystery keeps pulling the trigger anyway.